Hey guys, what's going on? I'm bringing you a brand new video of an actually older race. This was part of the Prairie State Series that I did back in late July. This is the Elmhusrt Criterium. This course was amazing. I loved the course. I love the technical turns, and as you guys can see here, the pavement was all brand new, like smooth as butter, super nice to ride in. It was an amazing day of racing. I After racing this race, I really wanted to race again. Unfortunately, there were no races for me to participate in. So you can see off the gun, this couple of guys up here and the couple of guys that I passed already are part of a Canadian juniors development team. They had been pushing the pace all weekend. I knew they were going to do it off the gun from this race, so I just pushed as hard as I could to get back onto their wheels right away. Coming around this back half, this is where a lot of the time the group was resting. Um, Obviously not on the first lap. I'm still trying to bridge up to these guys. Right behind me is my buddy Dane. You guys have seen him in a couple previous videos. Super strong rider. He comes up on my right here and helps me bridge up. And coming around this next corner, something really weird happened, especially for the first lap of the race in the front of the race. So these two junior riders are working together, and I don't know what happens right here, but one of them takes it just way too wide and basically just rides into the curb and ends up crashing. So then it is Dane, myself, and the junior rider who's on the front. They start pushing the pace a little bit. I know that we're going to come back together here, and we do, and we start working together a little bit. There, at this point, there was a small gap, probably about 5 seconds. You know, enough where something could have happened if we could keep up that pace, but I mean, you look at the miles per hour and the power we're pushing right now, and I mean, even my heart rate, and you can see that that's a pace that's just not easily maintainable for this 40-minute race. So we're still pushing the pace, just trying to kind of split the group up, trying to see who's going to be the stronger riders in this race. And my plan here, I did not plan on pulling at this point, especially because it was so early in the race. So I just kind of sat on, um, didn't really want to take a turn here. Had this been a little bit later in the race, I probably would have took a turn on the front, but just because it was so early, I felt like there was no way anything was going to happen. And you do see him kind of point his elbow at me, so I do take the front here. This is on the half of the course that had the tailwind, and it was downhill, so I was a little bit happier to take the pacemaking here on the front. You can see I'm not putting a ton of power down. Um, I wasn't really trying too hard. I was just trying to keep the pace kind of where it was without exerting myself too much. And I knew that I could corner a lot better than a lot of the other guys in the field. So I just kind of ripped as hard as I could through these corners. And then I believe coming right around this corner, a couple more guys bridged up to us, and we just kind of sat up, which it really could have gone either way. If we had 5 or 6 riders working together on the front with a 5-second gap, something probably could have happened, but it just didn't work out that way. So this is quite a bit later in the race. What actually ended up happening was Dane, that guy that you had seen before, and one of the junior team riders actually did end up going off the front, and they started to get a pretty decent gap. You can kind of see them up there, way up there, and the group's trying to reel them back in. You can see we're moving at a pretty good click here, and I feel like what ended up happening was the corners were just a bit too technical for some of the guys, and we ended up scrubbing a lot of speed because we were in a bigger chase group instead of having that small breakaway group. So overall, the breakaway group did end up staying away in this race. We did spend most of the race chasing, and really I'm just at this point sitting on my teammate's wheel. If my turn comes to the front, I'll take it. I would be more than happy to chase the lead group down, but You can see one of the guys starts to slow up, so we just move around past him. And we're really just trying to keep the pace up, trying to get that breakaway back in. And you can see the chase group starts to break up here a little bit. I encourage Dominic to pick up his pace a little bit so that we can get on those wheels and make it a little easier for us. You can see one of the juniors right there kind of comes in and bridges the gap for us. Right here, the pace had slowed down quite a bit from what we were at, and so this is me trying to talk to everybody and get everybody organized, telling everybody on the front that, hey, look, if we don't organize and we don't start rotating and taking turns on the front and really pushing our effort, then we're not going to catch them. And of course, when you say that to a lot of the guys, a lot of them just think, yeah, whatever, okay. And so I take the initiative and I get on the front and I start to push the pace back up. Was it the best choice at this point in the race? Probably not, but I really wanted to see if we could bridge that gap up to the breakaway and reel them back in before the end of the race. Right there, that is another one of the juniors who is attacking from the chase group. Tactics-wise, didn't really understand it, but I mean, he did pick up the pace a little bit more. This is Marcin, another really strong rider. He ends up taking the front for me so I can get a little break. We're picking up the pace here, still trying to put that effort in and bridge up. And you can still kind of see that junior rider off the front just a bit, and he's just kind of dangling out there. And it's really kind of silly to chase him down when he's probably just going to die and come back to us. So we just kept our effort steady and kept going. So here we are on the front again. We're pushing the pace still trying to catch that break. In my head at this point, it was kind of, there wasn't really any way we were going to catch the break. They were quite a bit of time ahead, and it was just kind of futile at this point. The top 3 spots were spoken for, so really we were racing for 4th place. But I still wanted to stay towards the front of the group, work together, help these guys out, and just kind of take turns, putting in the effort. Right here, Marcin starts to go. My teammate Dominic needed to pull up through. We had all taken our turns on the front, and I was just trying to get him to the front so he could take a turn, so that all of us could kind of rest and get a little bit of freshness back in our legs, whatever we could for the end of the race. And so again, just keeping the pace pretty steady, not pushing it too hard at this point because really the race is for 4th. Right there, I don't know what happened. I think that guy really just died. It was one of the juniors. Was not the safest move. He just kind of sat up in the middle of the group at the beginning of the last lap, which is this one right here. So you can see I've fallen back a little bit. The rest of the group, except for the breakaway, had come back together. So I kind of sat up and fell towards the back a little bit, which probably wasn't the best choice, especially on the last lap. But I do start to move up through the pack. I know I need to be towards the front if I'm going to get any sort of decent result. So I just kind of start weaving my way through, trying to find a wheel. I do see my teammate up there, Dominic, and I do catch up to him and I tell him, hey, my legs are feeling okay. If I can stick on your wheel and we can get towards the front of this group, then I might be able to pull, a top 10 off, which wouldn't be too bad. At least have something to show for it. So I end up sticking on his wheel. Right here, I'm kind of shouting to him, talking to him, and I know that I just need to stay close to him. And the group starts to pick up their pace a little bit more than I expected around that corner. I do end up getting back towards Dominic's wheel, but I do leave just enough space for another buddy of mine right here, Brian, to kind of push me out and take the wheel from me. So at this point, I'm going solo. I know a couple of the fast guys right here in front of me, so I know what wheels I should follow, what wheels I shouldn't follow. At this point, there's one corner left before the finishing line, and everybody just kind of starts putting in huge efforts. And I felt like this was so early to put in huge efforts. I do get bumped right there on my right hand side, uh, and then get kind of pinched in, don't have a place to go. So I swing out wide. Probably if I would have stayed inside, I would have been fine. But you can see there's quite a few guys in front of me. I try to take this corner at a pretty good click here, without obviously careening into one of the guys in front of me, and put in a seated effort right here because I knew that guys were going to sprint from this turn and start to die out. So I seated effort right until about here where I stood up and started to put in a power effort. You can kind of see from my numbers, they're decent numbers, but nothing great. And right about here, I just decided to call it. There was 2 more days of racing, I believe, and just figured save my legs for the next 2 days. Hope you guys liked it. I'll see you next time.